So this is who I am, and this is my career. I've been riding professionally now mountain bikes for 12 years. I've had amazing sponsors that have been my family now during that journey. I'm also a professional trail builder, and along with trail builds, I've built 25 trails now specifically, not including the school or anything else. I also focus and specialize on bicycle skills parks. And then, of course, this is my 7th year coming to the Sunshine Coast to be able to teach the mountain bike operations course, trail building. So getting to my riding course, or my riding, maybe the coffee's still in me here, hey? Getting on to my riding career, one of the things that happened when I first started riding, it was in a time in which competition was a priority for manufacturers. So people were competing as riders to be able to get paid to ride their bikes for competitive downhill races and things like that. I was my own worst competitor and failed miserably at that task, so I found alternative ways to ride my bicycle. Through that, my sponsors were actually very supportive of it and saw the actual value in having me stand back from the metal thing. They saw the value of having me actually ride my bike, be in communities, do demos, and inspire people. One of the strengths I believe in my riding has been the diversity of riding that I have, the ability to be able to ride just about anything and anywhere, and not necessarily focusing on competition, but just creativity. Riding lines that nobody else rides. When people go and ride a trail, I generally find ways not to ride the trail. And then there's this guy. Does anybody know who this guy is? Evel Knievel. This is Caesar's Palace. This is just before his legendary first jump. This was Evel Knievel's first jump ever. I recall as a kid watching Wide World of Sports with my family every Sunday, and we would get together as a family and see what Evel Knievel was up to next. Evel didn't make every jump, but what he did do was he taught me that I could do anything. The things that he dreamed up and then tried and attempted and made were incredible. And it inspired me as a kid, and even to this second, to be able to know that anything is possible. So getting back to things, my creative riding soon turned into expressive riding, where I no longer wanted to just ride the trail for the sake of riding the trail, but I'd do it my way. So I went to one wheel, then I went to causeways in the air, and then through that, I ended up getting a seat on this a television program called The Ride Guide, and it allowed me to be able to travel the world and through 9 different countries, and I don't even know how many cities I had the opportunity to be able to see other people's trails. Sunshine Coast, blasting some of the most beautiful creative trail that I've seen. And then, of course, going to Wales on the national downhill circuit that everybody is going as fast as they can downhill. Going to Jamaica for the prestigious Rambo Olympics, where, of course, I finished second. And then when I'm not riding my bike and traveling the world, I'm usually hanging out with my gangsters. So one of the things that I've noticed throughout my journey, and my journey has been long, and my journey, I would say, is from when I was a child till now, has been the continuity of this. Have you seen this in your neighborhood? I took this picture actually a month ago in Crow's Nest Pass, and this is the same thing my brother and I set up when I was 8 years old. And then this. Have you seen this? The shady dirt jumps off in the corner right by the housing developments and the kids out there working in it? I wonder how long it took them to build that. And how many teenagers do you know would hold a shovel in their hand for that many hours to be able to build it? The cool thing about this is that that teenager is creating his own world. He just envisioned that, went out and empowered himself to be able to design it and build it. And through that, he's now expressing himself. Sadly, the municipality doesn't understand it, so they're going to come in and level it. And that happens every single time. So just as a backdrop, I went through and just sort of looked at it and went, who's been jumping in for how long? Because skate parks have been around for quite some time, and there's a lot of them out there, and so has soccer and baseball and all these other sports. But who's really been jumping? Well, Evel Knievel from the 60s, Jim Pomeroy destroyed the moto circuit all over North America in the 50s. And then, of course, in 1984, Bill Dixon, he did the handlebars and two wheels thing with the BMX racing just before it went into freestyle, which is all jump-oriented. Yet, it's always torn down. So I needed the next step, which was, how do I formalize this? How do I get jumps in my neighborhood? So I started a nonprofit organization for youth, and it was basically a program where we took youth in a local neighborhood, empowered them to be able to lobby for land, and then once they lobbied for the land, we designed, built, and maintained an actual legal jump site. We figured out the criteria for it, how to talk about it, and then once we did that, we moved forward, and the kids taught their little brothers and then their little brothers how to be able to maintain it so that it would be sustainable. So that was pretty rad, and there you go. There, you get Myrtle Park. That's what we got out of it in North Vancouver. Doesn't look like much, but it was actually a lot, and it had a ton of pop to it. This inspired 5 professional mountain bikers that were kids that came up through this program who are actually killing it right now on the circuit today. So what happened from there was I was inspired by it and moved it and said, well, actually, taking one step back, I saw that there were only 2 parks that were ever built that I could find, and that was in Port Moody, where the Trails Association built a specific trails park, and right here on the Sunshine Coast in Gibson's, Doug Detweiler with the Sprockets program, he built the Sprockets Park. Fantastic parks, but they were specific to the organization, and so I decided to take the step from nonprofit into a business where I would vie for the same capacity as a football field and a baseball field, but only make it a creative space that people on bicycles could go to. And not just mountain bikes, but all sorts of bicycles. So creating a park-like environment, legalizing dirt jumps, and making sure that the thing is 100% managed. Through that, I had to develop the design process. So through public input, through getting the actual riders to come out and tell us what should be in their park, and getting to understand what was actually in their environment, going to the place that we were working, be it with 39 parks now, there's a lot of diversity and range, but understanding whether they had jumps or whether they didn't, or if they had big things in the trees that they were dropping out of, like dealing with the capacity of the community meant that we could design to it and then try to build so that they could grow into it. The flow of the park, understanding whether or not we needed to make it into more trails or into features, the safety of it, how it would integrate into the rest of the community with streets and parking and all that other stuff, sewer systems and things, drainage, and then of course the spatial boundaries, which was essentially hearing from the kids, we need jumps, and then we're hearing from the older kids going, we need bigger jumps, and then standing on the site and realizing that it doesn't, this piece of land doesn't say jumps. This piece of land says flow and feel, and the trees, everything suggests something other than what the user's asking for. So how do we merge in the middle and make that happen? And then looking into the future and saying, how can we expand this park? Because we know that the growth curve of kids is so quick that we need to compensate for that. So this particular park here is in Langley. The upper part is the actual design that we did, and the lower is the physicality we built. So that's about how close we can get it. This particular park has 14 different features that are accessible by wheelchair, and the whole goal of this park was to be able to have an open area for texture and feel. So this is the Mayor's Chambers, a project where I had taken public feedback. I had developed a park, and then we managed to squirm into the chambers because it was the only place that had a visual that we could use. And then the typical cast of characters right there approving the park design, which we implemented in between a cemetery and a neighborhood, local neighborhood. This park here is Burnaby. It's located north-facing on a slope up, directly facing the inlet on an old gun range. It is a destination area because you can only take a bus or a car to it. So we had to build a significant park, design something that would draw people of all levels, of all progressions and shapes. So as you can see through the park feature determinations, we have something there for everyone, which translated into that. And ultimately, when no one's there, you can integrate public art into it. You can get, that's such a sweet sculpture. And you can see how we've used logs and dirt and trees. And all our logs aren't mandatory rides. You can ride sections of it, or you can tie the different sections together to be able to create a flow so that you can set goals and move forward with them. This particular park here is in Hinton, Alberta. It's a 4.5-acre parcel that was just virgin forest. It was just on the outside of the town, where we came in and worked with the club to be able to develop something that had a whole technical features area, jumps, drops, and then 9 trails that actually run internally, including faux show. This here is a typical day in Hinton at the Skills Park. As you can see, we've integrated dimensional lumber, logs, rocks. While districts are taking and municipalities are taking teeter-totters out and putting safety spring mechanisms in, we're actually embracing it and putting them in our parks. We've got dirt, passive space, trees. So how is it that one gets this great notion or this idea that they can take a design and implement it and put it in the ground? How does that work? Well, first off, we've already walked the site and already kind of visualized what's going to be there. Then we go away and we actually do the design work. And when we get back and look at the forested area, hopefully it hasn't changed. Sometimes it has. And when we stand on site and actually look around, then we look at what the key trees are, key rocks, look at where the dirt is, where the drainage is. You know, are there any pockets of moss that might indicate rock lines, anything subcutaneous? And then what we do is we actually go in and mark out where the zone is. And sometimes the jumps aren't exactly the way that we said they were going to be. They just need to drift. Thank goodness for red line drawings. So here we are on the jumps. We came in, cleared the area. We've now set the grade, get all the machines in that we need to do it right. And then there's the semi-finish before handwork. And then 2008, there's me testing out the jumps. 2 months ago, there's Darian, 14-year-old Darian, who actually jumped the exact same jump at the Beaver Bike Fest and won first place in her category. And that's the first time she ever tried a one-hander. So having built this whole system and this juggernaut that's moving forward at this incredible speed for a long hair, I felt it was really important that I needed to tell somebody, and messages were getting out through conferences and things like that, but it wasn't necessarily the messages that I was hoping for. People were taking information and taking it and having it as their own and not including the base information that was in it, and sort of things were getting unclear. So when given the opportunity to join Capilano University here on the Sunshine Coast and to be able to actually instruct and to sort of take the next step and put education into it, I jumped at it. And I came in as the assistant instructor. These are the past 6 years of hoodlums that came through, both men and women. And basically this course, when you come to it, I've taken over the lead instructor now for 3 years. And when you come into this course, the first semester we teach you the basic fundamentals of trail building. So you can build hiking trail, walking trail, mountain bike trail, just about anything that's out there that's trail. But you know what the basic tools are and the fundamentals to be able to do it properly and professionally. Second semester, we get into the advanced version of things. Here, Kevin's sitting here learning some computer software to be able to design berms. We take that directly to the field, and there's the beautiful marriage between old school rock drainage and new school berm building. Kinnick Park and Kinnick Park here in Sechelt. The boys are working here on a trail where it's a raised tread so that anybody can ride it on the right-hand side, but then it has a log feature on the left-hand side, so if you want to like ramp up your riding, you can. But the trail's there for everyone. And then, of course, it's all about the students leaving a legacy. And here is the Supa Swoopa. Supa Swoopa has beautiful flow, it's wide, and it's inviting. And if you don't like it, you can ride around it. Why build these parks? I think these parks are important in every community because it allows Everett to be able to challenge himself and find his way to be able to ride inside the park and to be able to challenge himself at what's right for him at that time. I think it's great to build these parks because Luke can fly as high as he wants, and it's his choice. And the whole time, his mentors are behind him. And I build these parks because, I guess in a way, it's my fountain jump at Caesar's Palace. Thank you for your time.